in keeping with our communications theme, I'm going to share a little bit with you about my family story and how I ended up doing this job I never thought I would be doing. And then I'll give you some communication examples about how I use Lego bricks to have great communication with folks with dementia. How about that? And then we want to play a little bit. How you all feel about playing a little bit? Woo! Yes, this big bucket of Lego bricks up here in the front. You'll get a piece of that in just a little bit. Raise your hand if you have ever heard of Lego Serious Play before today. How can we, use something that most people consider just a toy? How can we navigate this really horrible disease to find some joy along that journey as well? So let's chat about how to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Miss Doris. I had the pleasure of being her daughter, and my mom was diagnosed with dementia in 2006 when she was 77 years old. And you're sitting across from this doctor, and he says, you were in the beginning stages of dementia. And as some people have already mentioned today, the first thing you usually fear when you hear that disease is money. I thought my mother would outlive my money. Let me just say, my great-grandmother lived to be 107. So I'm thinking there's a whole lot of years between 77 and 107. So you think, you're going to go bankrupt. So I started to write a whole lot of books to pay for her care, but that's another seminar entirely. And so the whole thing about Lego was interesting because we used it as an amazing tool to have the great communication that we had for my entire life. So I'll tell you about how we use that. And interestingly, one of the things that people always talk to me about is, you talk about joy all the time, but, what's joyful about dementia? And I was like, well, you act like she's dying today. I mean, yes, she's going to die eventually from that, but it ain't going to be today. And while we're waiting for that day, why don't we just have some fun? And so that's how we chose to approach it. So unfortunately for me, my mom died in January of 2022, a couple of weeks before her 93rd birthday. What that has done, though, is that even though she is no longer with us physically, she's with me every single day, and now I am able to, tour more and spread this, what I think is a really amazing methodology with lots of other people. So she may be gone, but her legacy is still really strong. So there we are. That picture there at the top was one of the pictures in the Washington Post, and everybody sort of came out to kind of see what this Lego thing was all about. And it started way back. I was 5 years old when my mother bought me my first set of Lego bricks. Now, my mother had one very interesting intention. She wanted to make sure that we used our imagination. So she didn't get us the boxes to buy and to build a train, plane, automobile. She got us what they call a creative set, which is just a whole lot of mixed up bricks together, right? And so she was like, okay, use your imagination. My mother taught us that we could build whatever we wanted and be whatever we wanted. So one of the things I noticed right away, even as a teenager, I noticed that Lego helped my mother find her words. What I mean by that is, these days we would say my mother was depressed when I was a teenager. And so she, would stumble over her words and try to figure it out. But with Lego, the words just seemed to flow naturally. So naturally, when she got dementia, I tried to stay with that. So one of the things that happened is, as you can imagine, when we got in the car after that diagnosis, I had Lego bricks in my car. Anytime you want to ride with me, there's a whole lot of Lego bricks in my car. So I asked her, because we built with Lego in every situation. When things went well, we built with Lego. When things didn't go well, some boy didn't like me in school, we built with Lego. She had a bad day at work, we built with Lego. You get the drift, right? So we get in the car, and I say, so how are you feeling about this diagnosis? And I got, ooh. So I asked her to build how she was feeling. And so instead of actually building a model, she takes one of her little Lego people, she pulls the head off that thing. She holds up the rest of the body, and she says, I feel like in a few years I'm going to lose my head. I put that on social media. People lost their minds. how profound it was of her to be able to articulate that with a piece of Lego. And so I had been watching this thing called Lego Serious Play out of Denmark. If you don't know, Lego is headquartered in Denmark, not in the United States. A lot of people are surprised by that. And so I had been watching this thing that they created for a long time, and it was a little more money than I wanted to spend. I was like, I'm not doing that. And then came the big day, the day in 2014 when my mother forgot who I was. It was my 55th birthday. So then it was time to take that class. So the whole Lego Serious Play phenomenon came to our family, and I will give you lots of examples of how that impacted our lives. And, we've heard a lot today already about communicating along this crazy path that we're on. And one of the things that I learned right away was not only was I able to communicate successfully with my mom, she had taught us when we were little that when you find something that works, you don't keep it to yourself, you share it with other people. So I started calling all these adult day and senior living, assisted living, all these programs to come over and play with their folks too. So no matter what was going on or how the disease progressed and the manner in which it did so, we were able to still keep our communication fresh. And I hope that's one of the things that we take away. Now, the first question I get all the time is Lego Serious Play a real thing? Listen here. My master's degree is in forensic science, but I tell you, that class right there that I took to become a certified Lego Serious Play facilitator was one of the hardest classes I ever took. And somebody comes from Denmark to say whether you pass or not. They take that Lego really seriously. So that first thing up there, that's my original certification class taught by one of the two creators of Lego Serious Play. Then who knew COVID was going to be a thing? So I also got the certification to teach it online. And those last two are advanced trainings that I've done. So I also have a certification in teaching resilience through Lego, right? So I went all the way to Lego headquarters in order to do that this past October. And so one of the largest grants I work under is the Johns Hopkins Resilience Grant, and I've been going all through nursing homes, sort of bringing the staff back after the, just horrific experience that COVID was. So this is one of the, I don't have it with me today. I have lots of stuff with me today, but I don't have that. That little piece you're looking at there, I built that to just show caregivers that no matter how many ways this caregiving experience bends us, it won't break us. I pass that around the audience. I let people twist it, bend it, step on it, roll it on the floor, but it never does break. And as long as we communicate with each other and share, all the tips that we're learning when we get back to work or back at home or in our churches, as long as we share those kinds of things with other people, none of us will break. That make sense? There you go. So if we communicate well, we can get lots of stuff done. So I'm going to share with you, just not only you saw my mom building a little bit, but one of the things that I want to share with you is some of the experience I've had with effective communication through these Lego bricks. This is a long story. You might be familiar with Collins and Continuing placed in Bowie. I just want you to look at the arrow there. I'm glad this screen is so big because you can really see. What you might notice right away is this piece is upside down. You see that? I had never seen anybody do that. That was 2017-ish. And it was the first time anybody had ever built anything upside down. So you can tell, probably from talking to me earlier, it doesn't take much to excite me. So I'm jumping up and down. I see this lady's thing, and it's upside down. And I say to her, oh, my God, look at yours. It's upside down. She says, in a very exasperated tone, well, of course it's upside down. It's just like my brain. That's what I said too. Y'all are good. Right on cue. Oh, yeah, that's what I said too. So here's the thing. I learned later that she spent more than 30 years at the University of Maryland. She clearly understood that something in her brain had disconnected, and that is how she chose to express it. So one of the things I learned early on is that this disease can bring out some amazing things in people. We think that they're gone. They are still in there. It is our job to bring them out, right? So that's what we call an individual build. There's also things we can do as a group. This is Generations Crossing in Harrisonburg, Virginia, right across from James Madison University. And they have a adult day / pre-K and then after school care thing. So we did this thing in 2019 where I came up with a project called Building a World Without Alzheimer's. And so we had the staff, the adult day participants, the pre-K participants, their parents, and pretty much anybody that stopped by could contribute. You see the all-white pieces being used so I could keep track of the intergenerational group, what they built. So we had the seniors and the pre-K building together. It took us 9 hours and 43 minutes to do this. Now, one of the things you're going to experience in a few minutes is telling their story. So everybody builds something and to tell a story. So the day before this event, I went down to teach the 5-year-olds what Alzheimer's was. So when they were sharing their story, they had to do this. They would hold up their thing, and they would say, in a world without Alzheimer's, and then they would tell their story, right? This little girl right here, she's got on the blue and white, red, white, and blue little shirt there. She built a bus. She holds it up. She says, in a world without Alzheimer's, my Grammy would remember how to ride the bus and what stop to get off. We all get it. That 9 hours and 43 minutes was some of the most amazing of my life. And I knew that this, really was the legacy I'm supposed to be, holding. We also do a lot of support group kind of stuff. It's all about the caregiver. This very interesting, Sunrise in Silver Spring, during COVID, as you can see. And they wanted to focus on vacations. So you can see we get a theme, and then we build the stuff to represent that team, and that's what you're going to do. So their favorite thing was they wanted to build your favorite vacations. So you see the woman in this last picture, she's 93. That's her niece, her only living relative, and the niece's husband. They built this cruise ship. They had gone on a cruise 15 years before, and then they're going to tell their story. So in the middle of them building, the 93-year-old starts to do this in the chair. I'm thinking, she needs to use the restroom, we'll take a break. No, she did not need to use the restroom. She was remembering line dancing on the cruise ship, and I was told she didn't say much. All of a sudden, she's talking. The executive director, I'm sorry I cut her head off, but she wasn't that important. And so she's running, people are crying, and people are taking pictures, everybody's screaming. I'm not sure what's going on. Then I found out she hadn't talked in a long time. And then the niece's husband is crying through his mask, and the niece says, Auntie, you remember the cruise? And she says, of course I remember it. And the niece says, well, you never talk about it. And she says, you never asked me. Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you again, they still in there. But here's what's so disastrous about this disease. 5 minutes after she said that, if you can see that, now the blank stare is back. She doesn't remember anything that has happened, but we got it all on tape, so it doesn't matter. So a lot of times when the loved ones can't come to these events that I do, I'll send them pictures at work. And people say, my dad built that? Yes, your dad built that. Sit there with your dad, and he can build some stuff. And then y'all can talk about it. People talk about houses they were born in or grew up in 1939. And then you call for verification because you had never heard that story. So a lot of times we're missing a lot in terms of communication because we don't do that. This story makes me cry. I'm going to try to not cry. And this is one of the last ones we'll look at before we build with y'all. This was a Mother's Day thing, and I own in D.C., and been working with this couple for a while. And you can see there's a heart there. And what was interesting about this day was that she usually participates a lot, and she wasn't really doing that much today, and the husband was a little upset. Oh, she's not doing it today. And I was like, that's okay, it's great. Whatever she builds is fabulous. And you can see they had already built some stuff, and all of a sudden, 5 minutes to go in the session, she puts that heart, slams it down on the top of the thing, and for the first time in 5 years, she says, love you. The hardest thing about this job is trying not to cry. There are some monumental moments that occur when they say a word they haven't said, or they slip back into a time, we didn't know. And, it was just an amazing day of building love. Just a few weeks ago, one of the things I loved about this title, about how to navigate this disease, we sometimes forget when we're a caregiver that we love the person we're caring for, right? Heard that a little bit this morning. So we built this, thinking about building love. We came up with strategies of how they're going to still remember how to show love even as this disease gets nastier as it goes on, right? So they had all kinds of strategies that they were going to hold on to, particularly on the really bad caregiving days, if that makes a lot of sense. But as you can see, we had a good time. And as you heard in the intro, all the news media came to see it. Who is this? And so I got the Lego lady title because when I fly, TSA named me that. I fly with 15, 20, 30,000 bricks at a time. And so I always do you get paid for this job? I most certainly do get paid for this job. Who thought this was going to be my job, though? But there you go. I love this top. I got on the same top. There you go. That was the Wall Street Journal that I teach people how to talk with Legos. Okay, whatever you feel like you got to do. But it works for me. But it really got interesting. We ended up on Good Morning America. When Robin Roberts says your name on Good Morning America, it's a thing. It is a thing, and because of COVID, we spent 2 days with her crew, but because of COVID, we didn't get to meet her. But then my daughter and I spoke at the Alzheimer's Foundation in New York, and she says, whenever you're in New York, stop by the studio, and Alzheimer's Foundation is right down the street from Good Morning America. So we did go and chat with her, and she said, let's sit down and do this Lego thing so I can understand what this work is that you do. And it takes a lot to be one of her thrivers, and we were just absolutely thrilled to sit with her. She acted like she ain't had a show to do. She sat with us with her little feet up. She had on smiley face slippers. That's how you know she is as true in real life as she did that. So what I'm getting ready to share with you now is exactly what we shared with her. And so what I hope you can take back to your places when you leave here is this whole thinking about what is this whole Lego serious play thing. Well, first, just a little teeny bit about Lego. As I've already mentioned, it is in Billund, which is right outside Copenhagen. And it was created in 1932 by this guy, Ole Kirk Christensen. And I'm not sure what the man was doing, but he never named it until 3 years later, 1935, he finally came up with a name. But when he finally did choose a name, wow, did he choose a great name. He took two Danish words, leg and gut, and in English, that means to play well. So we're going to try that out in a few minutes and see how well we can play. And so one of the reasons why I've gotten several awards, particularly in the last 5 years, is because supposedly I am the only person doing Lego serious play with people with dementia. And I'll show you, why that might be in just a second. So there are 4 parts to it. We're going to do all 4 of them in just a couple minutes. But I want to call your attention to that orange box there. This is the whole premise of Lego Serious Play. And it was created, first let me say, it was created because in the late 1990s, 1999 to be exact, Lego had been named the Toy of the Century by Time magazine. But that wasn't what they wanted. They wanted to be number 1 in the toy industry, and they were not that. Who is the number 1 toy company in America? Barbie, the Mattel people, absolutely. So they were like, listen. And then the technology, the first version of computer games that just started to come out. And so they weren't bankrupt by any means, but they certainly were like, we're not selling as much as we used to. So they asked some people, including my teacher, to roll off from Lego and form this consultancy, get with some academicians in the UK, and find out how they could be better, stronger, faster in their industry, right? And you won't believe what they found out. Usually when you go to a meeting at most corporations, all the decisions are made at the top. So CEO, COO, director of, would you agree? All right. And so when you went to a meeting with any of those groups, 1 or 2 people talk, and the rest of the people just sit there and nod a lot. A whole lot like what y'all doing right now, but we're getting ready to change that in a minute. So here's what they came up with. They figured out that wouldn't it be wonderful if instead of just having 1 or 2 people talk and come up with all the ideas and decisions, what if we asked everybody in the room, right? So that's what that middle box says. Lego Serious Play ensures that everyone is included and that all voices are heard. It does not say all voices except the people with dementia. Does it say that? And that's why I started using it. So when I met one of the founders of one of the academicians in Denmark in October, he says, hi, what do you do with Lego Serious Play? I say, I use it with people with dementia. Dead stop. He says, repeat that. I repeated. He says, do you have pictures of yourself doing that? I said, I most certainly do. He says, show me pictures. I show him pictures. He goes over and tells everybody, do you know what she does with Lego Serious Play? Nobody's doing that, which is probably really true, because they think that they can't build and share, and they most certainly can. So the 4 parts that you're getting ready to experience are on the screen. The first one is I'm going to give you a task. So if you're doing this with, folks where you are, give them a task. What happens? Everybody in the room agrees to build said task. Now that's where it gets interesting, because I call it the equalizer, because whenever I'm doing this for, the executives of senior living, which I've worked with a couple times, it doesn't matter what your title is. Everybody has the same bag of Lego bricks. Everybody does the same thing. And so, you hear from everybody, and it's just an amazing thing. So everybody agrees to build, so nobody can say, oh, I'm just going to watch. Y'all go ahead and play. But so we try to convince everybody to play, because everybody then can be heard. And then you're going to share at your tables the things that you're going to build, and then finally we'll do a bit of reflection. So reflection, if you're doing this back in your own place, just something for you to think about, you would just share what some of the common themes were that occurred, like the cruise ship. There were other people in that group that had also built, some cruises for their vacation. So just what some of the similarities and the differences are and what we observed during the sort of play time. So those are the 4 tenets of what Lego Serious Play is all about. So if you're thinking to yourself, I am not creative, this is not going to go well. How many of you are thinking that? Give them a hand for the people that are not sure. There you go. Give them a hand. I love y'all already. So here's the thing. This is the best part for you who are not sure about this exercise. You see the part on the screen? It doesn't say you can't screw this up, but really, you can't screw this up. Because whatever you build and hold it up, and whether you say, oh, this is my pet elephant, ain't nobody in this room gonna say it don't look like an elephant. Even if you think it, do not say it out loud. Right? I know, right? I'm just holding you up. And so here's a good example of this is all based on metaphors, right? So you see that little green thing in the corner? That is known as a 2x4. It is Lego's first and still probably most popular brick. There are 2 studs going across the top and 4 studs going down, thus the title 2x4. It is also green. So I don't want you to just see this as a 2x4. I want you to think growth of your knowledge from today, or growth in your relationships back at home, or with the families that you work with. We've talked about some very challenging things about using the right words and literacy. How can you find that right word with that Lego thing you're holding in your hand, right? Just something to think about. So Lego has found that there are no right or wrong ways to, do this, and that metaphors really unlock our imaginations. And one of the things that I, just really love about it is that your bricks really do become whatever you say they are. Thank you all so much for doing that. I hope from this share, I heard quite a bit of the sharing. I hope you took away from this how powerful a methodology it could be. One of the things I didn't share with you that I want to use in this final reflection is to say, when, I called this an equalizer earlier, and I said that, a lot of times when we were talking about the sort of lowest person on the totem pole in some of these organizations end up having the best ideas in the whole group. So, when you have the CEO in the room with everybody else, and everybody is heard, you get a sense. So I hope you feel heard today at your table with what you either were giving as a service or what you are hoping to receive as a caregiver. If you take a look at the screen here, a lot of times I have folks build their superpower. I tell caregivers all the time, you have a superpower and I need you to name it. Oh, I don't have that, you do. And build it right now. And then they do. My superpower is my energy. People say that all the time. There I am when I meet people, they're usually really depleted of energy, and I hand them the magic wand, and I can fill them up and have them re-inspired, as they leave. And so these are yours to keep. And so I hope that you will enjoy them and, really continue to build. So here's what I would suggest for you. Hold on. Y'all are having too much fun playing. Here's what I would hope for you moving forward. I think the things that most people will say to me at my house is they come over for Lego therapy. And you can see in this picture here, my mom, when she could no longer build, I started building these 4-piece Lego puzzles. I make them all in all kinds of colors, and we glue them so that they'll stay together. But what I want you to take from the picture is this. You can see that picture is a puzzle sort of put together. There are 4 pieces. You can see she's doing it all by herself. I am in the picture, but I'm certainly not helping her. That was a month before she died, and cognitively, she should never have been able to do that. Year 16, and there she is, okay? And so it's just amazing when this has been your vehicle and your method of communication the whole time. And look at how proud she is at the end of it. And so one of the things I would encourage you to do is keep finding ways. It might not be Lego, but keep finding ways to build and engage with them. So the deeper she went in, the more things I built from her. I made these spinning fidget toys that kept her from reading things out loud. You know, we would go to CVS or Target or somewhere, and she'd be in the aisle reading everything. If she saw anything on the screen, she would read it. So imagine being in the Walmart with us when she says, kale pectate for diarrhea. It's the fastest way to clear aisle. So to keep her from doing that, I kept one of these little fidgets in her hand that just spin around, and not only did she not repeat things or read out loud, she didn't talk at all. So I kept going with this Lego thing to, sort of keep up with how she was progressing. That was our drug. My mother never was on any drugs to sleep at night. Every behavioral challenge she had, we dealt with it with Lego. When she was trying to find the word, that thing right there, she's trying to say cup, but, she couldn't get it. So instead of me answering or filling in her sentence, I would wait. I would give her the Lego bricks. She would click a few together, and then she would say, cup. And all I had to do was wait. And so we handled all our challenges with Lego. Now, again, it might not be yours, but just find out what that strategy is. And so the next thing I would encourage you to build when you get back to work or you get home and gather around to have that conversation that we heard about earlier that we should have with our loved ones. I've done this a lot about people building what they wanted their end of life. So I really appreciated that previous session. And so build whatever is next for you. What strategy are you going to offer, or what service are you going to need? But just remember that number one rule I taught you, and that is to think with your hands. Take a look at it. This is the last day of my mother's life. What do you see in her hands? If I can die, I'm going to fill out that questionnaire they talked about earlier, and if you haven't been to that session, you'll love it. I promised my mother that for 16 years, we would have joy, and you can see it right there. So even though that day, she could no longer click them together, she certainly could move them around that bedspread. She died about 11 hours after that picture was taken. But as the kids would say on TikTok, I understood the assignment. I did try to provide joy for her every single day. And then some days were really, really ugly, but we still had Lego. I would come over. She remembered my name for the first 7 years. After that, I was a very nice person. But every time I'd go over to the house, she would say, hi, you're here. Then she would say, where's the Lego? So she remembered Lego all her life, but not my, I'm Loretta, I'm fine, but don't worry about it, But no matter what you take away from this, keep that Lego bag, buy some additional ones, try to work with your people. Call me if you need something. LorettaVini.com is where I am. And I think it'll be fun. So thank you all so much for spending the after lunch with me. Y'all are awesome, and I appreciate you. Thank y'all so much.